Good morning to you.
Morning.
Well, you better pick up on that first, I think. Putting aside the personality of the Speaker of the House of Commons, what do you make of what he said yesterday?
Well, I've long known that the House of Commons and the Speaker, in his fastidiously impartial way, will do everything they can to prevent a no-deal Brexit. Now, that doesn't take no deal off the table. My current role in government is to make sure that the country is prepared to leave without a deal if that's what happens. But the House of Commons has expressed its will on a number of occasions, and the Speaker has facilitated the House expressing its will, and that is a reality. So we've got to deal with the realities, and it's no good for anybody, potential leaders or otherwise, to suggest there are some simple, easy ways of sorting this out. It won't be sorted out easily. It's going to take hard work. It's going to take negotiation. It's going to take leadership, and it's not going to be done just by force of will and banging on the table.
But putting aside whether you were using the phrase fastidiously impartial with a touch of sarcasm, I mean, it is not the job of the Speaker, is it, to determine, in effect, because this is what the effect of it would be, whether we have a no-deal Brexit, because many people, as you say, many people in this country want a no-deal Brexit.
Well, the Speaker is going to have to do his job in the way that he thinks best. I can't control that, neither can anyone else.
No, but you can make an observation.
That is fun and that is interesting, but what is more important is actually working out how we deliver Brexit, and that's what my priority has got to be, because until we have delivered Brexit, we will not have the legitimacy to talk about any of the other issues that we absolutely have to talk about. More importantly, we need to understand why so many people voted for Brexit passionately. I know why I voted and campaigned for Brexit, but there are a multitude of reasons. Not all to do with Europe, a lot to do about not being listened to by politicians, about not having a voice, about a lot of people feeling that they are left behind
Indeed.
in the political debate, but also understanding why people voted with such passion to remain in the EU. And about our place in the world, our relationship with Europe and economic stability. And we have to address both of those.
Indeed. And you're a Brexiteer.
Yeah.
Are you a no-deal Brexiteer?
Well, my job in government is to make sure that we can leave with no deal. That is still one of the options, one of the ultimate destinations of this process. It is not my preferred destination.
It's not?
It is not. So this is what I do every day. I know that it will not be effortless or easy.
But would it be massively damaging to the future of this country?
It wouldn't be that. What it would be is an added level of uncertainty and difficulty at a time when we could well do without that. We absolutely can deliver a Brexit with no deal. But we should also remember...
And you're reasonably, my words, not yours, but you're reasonably sanguine about that.
Yeah, because I've seen the preparations. It is not my preferred option. I don't think it should be an outcome to be pursued. It can be delivered, but not pursued. But it's also really important we understand that not delivering Brexit would be, in my mind, significantly more damaging. Our political reputation with the country would be damaged. I think that the idea that we would somehow revert to a pre-referendum reality is for the birds.
So an extension of Article 15 not on, as far as you're concerned?
Well, what we should look to do is get this delivered and delivered on time. We've delayed and delayed and delayed. We've seen that the British people are getting increasingly frustrated with those delays, and we absolutely have to deliver Brexit. And then once we've done so, we need to move on to other things.
Right,
we can't just have more of the same.
All right, but before we move on to other things, and this is the big hurdle, isn't it? Jeremy Hunt, you'll know, said yesterday it'd be a political suicide for the next leader to push through a no-deal Brexit. It would bring about a general election, which would be the biggest risk to Brexit. Do you agree with him?
Well, look, my position on this, my position on everything to do with Brexit has been consistent from the beginning. I campaigned for Brexit when I saw what David Cameron was asking for in January of 2016. So I've been consistent on this. I'm Brexit tooth and claw. However, I have always said that we need to be pragmatic, we need to be sensible, we need to leave with a deal. What other people say is up to them, but my position has been clear. We need to leave quickly, and then once we do that, we need to move on to a new agenda. We need to look different, we need to sound different, and we need to offer something new.
What about what Rory Stewart said, that trying to buy a car by threatening about Jeremy Hunt's approach, it's trying to buy a car by threatening to blow your head off with a gun, drop the price or I'll shoot myself. What do you make of that?
No, I'm not here to comment on other people's campaigns.
Oh, come on, that's what leadership contests are all about. I mean, that's the inevitable result of a leadership contest.
No, that's what other leadership campaigns have been about.
You're sounding a bit holier than thou.
No, and it's not just me, because I think we have a real opportunity as Conservatives to run a very competitive but positive campaign where we're setting out alternative positive visions rather than trying to knock chunks out of each other. So we're the best one in the world. I'm not here to talk about other campaigns. I'm not here to talk about other leadership contenders. I'm here to talk about the country. I'm here to talk about the party. I'm here to talk about what we need to do to regain the confidence of the British people.
All
because if we're not thinking about that, we're thinking about the wrong stuff.
All right, but let's close that bit then by affirming that no deal is on the table as far as you are concerned.
Absolutely.
You have not removed. Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, right. Quite clear about that. Now, what about your leadership bit? A bit cheeky, isn't it? I mean, you've only been in Parliament since 2015, Minister only a couple of months, and we got Jacob Rees-Mogg suggesting that a lot of you new candidates, as it were, should show self-restraint.
Well, that's, I've a huge amount of time and respect for Jacob. But there is a message. There is a message that we're seeing from global politics, which is the surprising candidates are disproportionately successful. The outside bets keep winning. And what I've also seen is that we need to be able to reconnect with the country. We need to be able to sell a Conservative vision and explain why it is the right answer for the British people.
You don't think they'd have too many? The people are just looking at it now and beginning to giggle a little bit, aren't they? I mean, people are saying this is becoming silly. 11 at the moment, 13 candidates.
So the last leadership campaign, we had a relatively small number of people in the first round. That distilled very quickly down to ultimately Theresa May went into the job uncontested and untested. And what we found is that as admirable as she is and as successful as she was around the cabinet table as Home Secretary, she didn't fit well with the role of Prime Minister, and it saddens me to say that. And had we tested the candidates through that proper leadership campaign, we could have built a team around her which would have complemented her skills and made up her shortfalls. Because everyone's got skills.
What was a big shortfall then that you would be opposed different from?
Well, look, what I have seen that there are
the big shortfalls. What
I'm not talking about. No, what I'm going to talk about is what I observe the role of Prime Minister.
But you can't do that unless you say the other person got it wrong because
you can read into that what you can read into that what you will. But the point is, there are basically three things that you need to do. You need to be able to build and manage a team.
Yep.
You need to be able to make tough decisions, and you need to be able to communicate those decisions. I've done all of those three things.
Okay.
Outside Parliament, prior when I was working at City Hall in the London Assembly, making difficult decisions about the structure of the London Fire Brigade and
all right, but you haven't been in the cabinet. Look, let me just put another question to you.
Well, our two most successful out of our four most recent prime ministers, two have come from a long period of cabinet, and two had zero government experience whatsoever. And our demonstrably two most successful prime ministers had absolutely not only no cabinet experience, no government experience whatsoever. And the two that had years around the cabinet table didn't take to the role of prime minister.
You'll need to just say who were our most...
Well, David Cameron and Tony Blair were demonstrably successful prime ministers.
Many people would say if it hadn't been for David Cameron, we wouldn't be where we are now in this Brexit crisis.
Well, in terms of electoral success, the numbers speak.
I'm afraid that isn't the measure for prime ministers, is it? It's the legacy they leave. Surely is the measure.
You've got to win an election. You've got to win an election before,
and then you've got to run the country properly.
And the point that I'm making is that cabinet experience is no guarantor of success in the role as Prime Minister.
What part, if any, is race going to play in this campaign? Because you would be the first black Prime Minister.
It's really not something I think about all that much.
Really?
And actually, one of the things that I love about my part in increasingly is the fact that this has not really been a big issue. It's not something.
No,
that's
no,
come
no.
up.
It's a big issue. I just wonder whether you think it plays a part at all.
Well, I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. And I'm very proud of the fact that there is a credible chance that, as well as having the first female Prime Minister, the second female Prime Minister, the Conservative Party looks as if it might have the first Prime Minister for BAME background. For me, it's not something that I'm going to campaign on particularly. If it is going to be something that people comment on, hopefully positively. And if I thought that was the only thing I was bringing to this role, then I wouldn't be standing. But as I say, I've got experience in business. I've got experience in
as you said,
London
you
politics,
right?
And as deputy chairman of the party. So I think I've got a lot to bring to this.
A thought about Islamophobia in your party. The Muslim Council of Britain, the umbrella body that is asking the Equalities Human Rights Commission to investigate accusations of Islamophobia against the Conservatives. As we know, they're investigating the Labour Party for anti-Semitism. Should they do the same?
Well, I spent over a year as deputy chairman of the Conservative Party, and I know that our attitude towards Islamophobia or any form of religious bigotry or racial hatred was dealt with quickly and decisively. I think that we have approached this problem, and all mass membership organisations will have challenges like this. It's not whether or not they exist, it's how you deal with them. And the Conservative Party has always dealt with it robustly and quickly and decisively. And I'm pleased that we've done that. And I don't feel actually that is reflected in how other parties have dealt with their problems.
James